Hi folks, my name is Mr. Kuchak and I am your art teacher. Before we begin, let me go over our class rules. We have 3 rules at Elk Lake. Be ready, be responsible, be respectful. We are ready in the art room when we come in, sit in our assigned seats, and get quiet so that we can learn about art. We are responsible in the art room when we follow directions and take care of our supplies, and we clean up any of our messes. We are respectful when we use kind words like please and thank you, and when we value other students' artwork. Supplies you will need for today's lesson. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Hi folks, today we're going to go over how to draw eyes. We're also going to go over some parts of a portrait. And a portrait is a picture of a person. A self-portrait that you're going to be doing is a picture of you, kind of like a selfie. I'm going to show you 2 examples of portraits. I'm going to show you an example that has a lot of mistakes to it, where every year when students start drawing portraits, or when they hear that they're going to start drawing portraits, they start drawing away on their folders. And I take a look at the things that they do wrong, and that's how I've come up with a lot of the things how I've come up with this lesson, because I've figured out the things that students need to be able to succeed. So the first portrait is some of the most common mistakes that people make. With these, you're going to see that the portrait looks a little cartoony. That's okay. I'm going to put that picture up. I'm going to explain some of the things that are wrong with the picture. And then that way, when I show you the good example, you'll understand why that's a better example than the first one. You've seen the 2 examples. The way that the second example was done was by using some proportions. Proportions are kind of key features that artists look for when they draw somebody. First thing that an artist will look for is the shape of the head. Please remember, this is the top of the head, and it's bigger at the top because that's where your brain is, and it comes down to where your chin is. So the top part of the head is always going to be bigger than the bottom chin. This is the top of your head. A lot of times when people are drawing, they look at this as the top of their head. It's not, it's up here. Now, your portrait is pretty much going to be covered by hair up here, but with my huge amount of hair up here, you can see where the top of my head actually is. With that, we are going to make the top bigger, and we come down. Now, how do we know how big the face needs to be? How do we know how tall? How do we know where the eyes and nose and mouth go? Well, Leonardo da Vinci was key into helping us figure where a lot of this stuff goes. So the first thing that we need to realize is that we want to look for where the eyes are. Once you can figure out where the eyes are, everything else is much easier. So your eyes are actually in the middle of your head. So once again, top of your head, chin, your eyes are right in the middle. Halfway between your eyes and your chin is the bottom of your nose. Halfway between your nose and your chin is your bottom lip line. So this part here. So if you use the middle of the mouth way down here, it's going to look like your mouth kind of slipped down your face. Once you have those 3 spots, then we go back and we use the eyes to figure out where everything else is going to go. So with our eyes, if we measure our eyes, we have a space for an eye in between our eyes. It also lets us know that our face is 5 eyes across. So if we take that eye and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's an easy way to figure out how wide the face needs to be. From the center of your eyes, if you drew a line straight down, that's where the side of your nose is. If you go from the center of your eyes and come straight down, that's where your mouth ends. If you go from the center of your eyes, that's where the top of your ears are. And if you go from the bottom of your nose over, that's where your ears end. Your neck, you want that to come out from behind your ears. Don't have it come here. We don't want a little lollipop neck. We want it to come out through the sides. When we're drawing our eyes, we will have an eye line there. We will also have 2 other lines that show us how tall the eye is. I call that an eye box. So today we're going to go over the eye box, and we're going to figure out how to draw that out, and then I'm going to break the eye down into tiny manageable steps so that when you're drawing it out, you can actually be able to just work on the shapes so that when you draw your own eye out, you'll be able to put all of those kind of little pieces together and come up with a great picture. Move the camera so that you can see my paper. I will continue talking and you can just follow along. Now when we're doing the eye box, it's easy to kind of remember because we start off with the letter I for an eye. So when we do the letter I, we want it more rectangular than square. See if you can, whoops, there it is. So we want it kind of like a capital I. And then what I do is I do some dashed lines. These dashed lines are kind of like a football field. It tells you don't go outside those lines. That's the boundary. And then we find where the middle is, or pretty close to the middle. We draw a set of lines down. This divides it up into 4 different pieces. This is going to be extremely helpful when we are drawing this out. It's going to be extremely helpful when we're drawing this out because we're going to break it down into simple shapes. If you think of drawing the eye as eating a pizza. So if we start with a big pizza and we shove that in our mouth, it's going to be a mess. It is not going to be a pretty sight. Same thing with drawing the eyes. If we try to draw everything all out at once, it's going to be a little bit of a mess. So what we do is kind of like what we do with the pizza. We divide it up into tiny little parts, and then those parts we take tiny bites out of. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do tiny little parts for the eye so that we can go ahead and have success with it. So now the next thing that we want to do is we want to take and put our pencil here where this touches. I call that the goal post because it kind of looks like a football goal post. I'm going to start right here on the corner where the sides touch the sides. It's very important that you're not starting here or under or above. We just want to start here, and we're going to curve up to that center part. Remember, it's not like a rocket ship going up as fast and as quick as it can. We don't want something like a rainbow. This is more of a gentle curve. Once we get to the top, we are going to curve down to our next side. Then we curve down again, and then we are going to curve up. This kind of gives us that lemony kind of football shape, which is what we're after. Next, we have to do our eyelid. What we don't want is we don't want kind of a rainbow within a rainbow where it's not touching, because then the eyelid's not going to look real. It's going to go back to looking cartoony. So put your pencil where we started. You want it to touch the eye, and then we go halfway up and halfway down. This way we have our eyelid. Next, we need parentheses. Parentheses, if you've ever sent someone a smile emoji, that's a parenthesis on the bottom. It's also used in math class, so it keeps information in. So we're looking at these. They are nice and tall. They're not leaning over like fish hooks. They're not diagonals. They're not backwards. We want to make sure that we're doing nice big parentheses. Now, spacing wise, if you put them too close, the eyes are going to look afraid because you're going to see too much of the white of the eyes. So we use a finger spacing. So if you put your finger right over the middle and then come over the side, that's where the first one is going to go. That's the only little bit of white spot that you need. Once again, put your finger there, come over to the side, and then we do 2 circles. Circle, you can color that one in, and then a smaller circle. And the smaller circle is a little reflection. It makes the eyes look a little bit more real. You'll see that in cartoons, you'll see that in sometimes anime, you'll see that in a few different, it's used a few different ways. So now our next part, let me turn my paper around so that you can see. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do another eye for another eye. So you want the sides to be the same. Add your eye in place. Add your dashed lines. Divide it up. Once we have that, we're going to take our time. We're going to start on the side. We're going to come up to the top. We're going to come down to the side. Then we're going to come down and touch, and up and touch. Once we have that done, we need an eyelid. Remember, we're not starting in here. We don't want this ripped eyelid. We want it to start here on the side, come up through the middle, and come down. Next, do your parentheses. Remember, finger spacing, parenthesis, parenthesis. Circle. Make this first one, doesn't have to be super big, but if it's too small, if it's smaller than the top of your pencil, it's just gonna look a little off. So a little bit bigger, not a bad thing. So let's go to our next one. So that's 2. Let's go to our third one. Eye for an eye. Let's add those in the middle. And over here you can see I kind of messed up a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and fix that so that I know which way I'm going to be going. Now with this one, let's try doing the whole top at one go. Sometimes when you're doing curves, once you get going, you don't want to stop and you want to keep going. So let's just kind of keep that going. So we're going to start here on the side. Side touches the side. We're going to come up. We're going to come down. And then we come down and up. We split the eyelid. Parenthesis, parenthesis, circle, circle. Great job. Okay, let's do another one. Eye for an eye. Do your eye box. And let's do that same one again. Let's come all the way up and down. Let's curve down and up. Then go back to your goalpost. Make sure that eyelid is touching and come across. Really check those parentheses. Make sure they're not the fish hooks. Make sure they're not diagonals. They have to be parentheses. So put your spacing in there and you're going to go from the eyelid down. If it's not touching the eyelid, it's going to kind of look like a broken egg inside your eye. So we want to make sure we go from the eyelid down. Remember, your eyelids aren't made out of glass, so don't start way up here at the second eyelid. You want to start here at this one. Circle, circle. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do our fifth one. Eye for an eye. Now this one, once we get going with this one, we're going to do the top and bottom all together. So what that means is don't stop. When you hit here, just go around, swing it around. You might see that you'll come up with a really nice looking eye. So we're going to start here. We're going to curve up and down and back around. Sometimes once you get going with it, your curve, you can really follow and continue. Then we split the eye for the eyelid. We add our parentheses. So remember, use your finger spacing. Circle, circle. Let's try that one once more. Okay, so start on the eye box. We're going to come up and down, back around and up. Let's do our eyelid, parenthesis, parenthesis, circle, circle. Remember, check your spacing. So if you didn't use your finger that time, go back in and make sure that they're spaced far enough on the side. Also, really watch. Make sure that you don't have diagonals or that they're not backwards. Sometimes I see a lot of students do the parentheses backwards. The parentheses have to hold in the eye. They have to hold everything in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's do 3 more. So with this one, we're going to do all 3 parts at the same time. So we're going to come up and down, curve around, add your eyelid. Good, 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 good. Now, parenthesis, parenthesis. Remember, we're not going into the top one. Circle, circle. Now, for this last one, last 2, just draw out 2 eye boxes. So let's do these together. Eye for an eye. And I want you to do these 2 on your own. I want you to see if you can follow the steps that you already have in place so that we can come up with those eyes. Once you have it done, remember, put your name on there. So then I know it's yours, and you can upload it to the Google slide that I have attached to this lesson. Just go in, hit the plus mark once you're in the Google slide, upload your artwork from your phone or from your tablet, and that way I will be able to see how you did. Next time we will go over how to draw on the nose. So we'll go over a couple more different parts of this, and we'll just kind of keep going step and step and step until we get to where we can draw out our face. Great job today. I'll see you next time. Bye.